Hello and welcome to Remaking My Old OCs. This is going to be a series where I remake my old OCs that I made years ago. Each episode will contain different stories unless they get too long, so for this episode I will be remaking some characters from a story with the main character named Flower. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so first up we have Flower. Originally Flower was a light yellow cat, but I didn't really like that she's just yellow, as it is very unrealistic for a cat to just be yellow. I'm not saying that having unrealistic characters are bad and all, as I have OCs that are pink and blue. It's just not what I'm going for this character, so I made her a Siamese cream point. So the oldest drawing of her that I can find was 3 years ago, and the newest aside from the attempt to remake her 1 month ago was 2 years ago. She most likely was made about 4 years ago though, as she was inspired by the animation meme Robo Kitty. Her old story was that she was a normal cat before these wolves kidnapped her and they sliced off her face and replaced it with robotic parts, and they did some other stuff that made it so they could mind control her. I don't know, it was strange. Well, anyways, so she had a boyfriend, and when he saw her face he broke up with her cause she was ugly. I don't really know why he didn't care that she was missing, but yes, so she told everyone what happened to her, but for some reason nobody could get in the building. So they just made sure not to go near the building. Yes, they have buildings, and yes, they could stand on 2 feet. So sometime later Flower finds out that her ex-boyfriend was actually working for the wolves that kidnapped her, and he was the one that cut off her face. So she gets really sad, and for a long time she is mind controlled to hurt people, so she was locked in a cage by me. Yes, I was in this story originally, but if I do remake her story I won't be in it. So anyways, everyone knows that she's not evil, but lock her in a cage anyways cause she has hurt people due to being mind controlled, and I guess nobody really cares to try and find out how to stop the mind controlling, but whatever. So eventually she goes mad and finds the wolves and her ex-boyfriend and tries to kill them, and this starts her edgy phase. This new version of her was called The Void, and I made a lot of edgy drawings of that version. But anyways, she then finds out that her ex-boyfriend was actually going to propose to her, and she gets sad, and cause she's distracted the wolves knock her out. She wakes up strapped to a chair-like thing just so she doesn't try to kill anyone, and her ex-boyfriend was the one who strapped her to the chair, and he starts saying that he is sorry, and that it's his fault, and her ex-boyfriend is betrayed as like a good guy who was forced to work for them, and he still loves her.
But it was not your fault but mine, and it was your heart on the line. I really fucked it up this time, didn't I, my dear?
So yeah, I don't really like that part in the story just because he ruined her life, and even when he had a chance to say that he was forced and was sorry, he just broke up with her. And yeah, maybe you could say that the wolves were forcing him to do that as well. But I remember that the reason he broke up with her was because he was too embarrassed to say anything, so he broke up with her. Also he strapped her to a chair cause he doesn't trust her. Wow, how nice. So yet I don't really like the ex-boyfriend in this story. Sometime later when I was making the story I decided to make Flower have another boyfriend before she finds out that her ex-boyfriend was a good guy. The relationship didn't last long as her new boyfriend cheated on her with a purple cat, so they broke up. But before that she scratched the purple cat's eye, leaving them blind in one eye. After a long time of not drawing Flower, I made a drawing that gave her a sister named Daisy, and fun fact, I named Flower for the first time in that drawing as well, but it was also the last drawing I ever made of Flower, and eventually I stopped thinking about her story. Next we have Flower's ex-boyfriend. Originally Flower's ex-boyfriend was a light yellow cat like her, but then people started to think that was her brother, so I remade him brown with yellow stripes, but I really didn't like the design, and I do still really like the design of his old one. Just the yellow and the red made it look nice, so I made him a orange tabby. This is so he didn't look just like his girlfriend. So the oldest drawing of him that I can find was 3 years ago, and the newest was 2 years ago. I never really would draw him unless it had Flower in it, since I just didn't really care for the character. His old story was that these wolves forced him to work for them, and one of the people that he had to turn into a half-robot was Flower. When he escaped, he broke up with Flower cause he was too embarrassed to tell her what happened, and I guess at some point they found him and forced him to work for them again and stuff. So he started planning to propose to Flower as an apology for what he did, but some days later Flower attacks him and the wolves knock her out, so he takes her to his place and for some reason straps her to a chair to, I guess, make sure she won't attack him again and so she will listen to him. So he says he is sorry and that he was forced to work for them. After that they got back together, but he didn't ever propose to Flower, I guess. So after they got back together, this other yellow cat, well, at the time they were more of a human, but if I remake them, since I forgot about this character, they would be a cat. Anyways, this person tried to get together with Flower's boyfriend, but he really didn't like her, and that's all of his story. I never really cared to give him a good story, or even a backstory. Next we have one of the wolves. For the sake of the video we will just call them Evil Sister 1. Originally she was a human, but then I stopped drawing humans and I thought a wolf would be better, so that design was a black and purple wolf. I didn't really change her colors as I did really like them, so I just changed the pattern. So the oldest drawing I can find was 3 years ago and the newest I can find was 2 years ago. I never really would draw her as I only have 3 drawings of her. Her old story wasn't much, it was mainly just that she is evil and had a sister that helped her, but after like a year of having the character I decided to give her and her sister more of a story. So basically her and her sister had a little sister that they for some reason hated. Also their parents died and for some reason no one checked the parents' house, even the ones that knew they had kids. Anyways, one day their little sister got really mad and tried to stab them, so they ran away. I didn't care to focus on the older sister's story after that, so I just kept the old story when they were evil, and made people have robotic legs, arms, and faces, and could mind control people if they added robotic parts. That's mainly it, and the rest I will leave for the younger sister's story. Next is Evil Sister 2. Originally she was a human like her sister, and like I said, I thought a wolf would look better. I only have one drawing of her 2 years ago, but even then it's only a work in progress. I did try to make her once, but I guess I never finished it cause I never saved it. Her old story isn't much different from her sister's, so yet I'm not going to talk about it since you already know. So before we get into the character, I just wanted to show an unfinished drawing of the next character. I hadn't gone to bed before making this, and they were, and still are, one of my favorite characters in this story, so I really wanted them to look good, but since I didn't sleep it was not looking the way I wanted it to, so I just remade the drawing after sleeping. Alright, so this is the little sister of the older wolves in the story. I have only drawn her once like the other sister, despite her being my favorite character in the story. Despite never drawing her, I still made a design for her back then. I had made it in Sims 4, yes, Sims 4. I also made the other sisters, and their parents too. I didn't use any of the designs though. I don't really like the hair color I did for her design, so it may change if I ever put her on my YouTube channel again. When making the other sisters I had removed some things when making the sketches cause I thought it would look better on the little sister, like the scar and freckles. Her old story was that her older sisters would bully her until one day she tried to stab one of them and they ran away leaving her all alone in the house. She stayed never leaving, she only left when she needed to get stuff. For years she planned on finding her sisters so she could kill them. She would do training for when the day came. When news came out about 2 unknown wolves kidnapping people, she knew who they were. She would talk to the people who would get out so she could get more info on the wolves. Once she got enough info she planned to get in and kill them. Her and many of the people the wolves kidnapped got in one day, the others planned to get them in prison not knowing that she wanted to kill the wolves. Once they found them the wolves ran into a room, with a big door that they couldn't get into if it closed so they let her run in as she was the fastest. When she got in she killed Evil Sister 2 and then attacked Evil Sister 1. What she didn't realize was that Evil Sister 1 was still alive and when she wasn't looking Evil Sister 1 got up and stabbed her. Evil Sister 1 would pass out due to blood loss, and when Evil Sister 1 would wake up she found out that all her sisters were dead. For some reason Evil Sister 1 was never put in prison, but anyways the little sister would become zombie-like and she would dig out of her grave and she would start to find Evil Sister 1. When she did she would make it so Evil Sister 1 couldn't die by her. She would use a chainsaw as her weapon. That's mainly it since I never finished the story. Like I said before she is one of my favorites and I only stopped thinking about the story recently. Despite the character being my favorite I don't really like her story, I just like the thought of her being very vengeful, and her as a zombie with a chainsaw. This is Daisy, Flower's sister. I made her 2 years ago and I have never drawn her since. She literally has no story other than being sad that her sister is locked in a cage. Alright, so I forgot a lot of characters so I will be splitting this video into 2 parts so the video doesn't get too long. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.